In this Columbia automatic taper repair video, I will be showing you how to put your taper head back together with your new wear parts. Here is a list of the tools you will need. I will start this video by showing you how to replace your back plate seal. If your taper leaks from behind your tape guide, you will need to replace this seal. To remove the current seal, you will need to take a flathead screwdriver and scrape it out. Once it is completely cleaned out, you will need to make sure that the surface area is dry before laying the new seal. To be safe, I use 2 seals to seal my back plate. The first one I use is green Loctite. After the green Loctite dries, I use a second, which is silicone. I will be showing you how to apply the silicone later in the video. The green Loctite is optional. You can just use the silicone if you want to, but I prefer to have 2 seals as a backup. Once you've set the Loctite all along the edges of the back plate, set the taper head down and let the seal dry for 15 minutes. After the head is sat for between 15 to 30 minutes, there will be excess Loctite that didn't set in. Just use a rag to wipe it off. While you have the head off of the body of the taper, it is a good time to let the body soak in water so that it is easier to clean the mud off of it later. To put your brake back onto the taper head, start by putting your brake rod in through the brake holding hole. I like to grease one end of the rod so that the brake rides smoothly on it. Then put your brake roller onto the rod and push the arm back so that you can set your brake in place before locking it in place with the holding screw. You want the brake roller's head to be close to the side plate without touching it. Once you've done this, tighten down the brake rod holding screw. You can clip the excess of the brake rod off if you like. It's not necessary, but makes it easier to change the brake on the job site. If your creaser wheel or creaser wheel bushing needs to be changed, you simply remove the lock nut and pull one of the arms off to free it up. Before putting the creaser arms back onto the head, it is a good idea to grease them for a smooth function. Then insert the long pin into its slot and then slightly bend the small slot arm so that you can get it into its slot. Once you have the arms in their holes, you can put the rod fastening screw in place. Once you've tightened it down, use the 11/32 nut driver to tighten down the creaser wheel lock nut. When all is done, your creaser arms should slide up and down smoothly. If your creaser arms do not run smoothly, you will have to tweak them into place using your pliers to straighten them. Next, you will put your cutter wheels on. For the left side of the taper head, you use the big wheel and the long screw. Take the long screw and put the roller bushing over it, followed by the big wheel. Then screw them into the left ear of the taper head. Then take the short screw with bushing and small cutter wheel and screw them into the right ear. Once you've put both wheels on, only on the right ear, take the 11/32 driver and fasten the lock nut onto the wheel screw. To replace your ratchet gears on your top wheel, you must remove them by undoing all of the 6 screws that hold them on. Repeat the same steps shown to remove the opposite ratchet gear. Once you have it all apart, it's time to put the new ratchet gears on. Use a file on the top wheel and the gear hubs to ensure that they are flat before putting it back together. There are 2 sides to the ratchet gear, one that has a smooth edge and one that has a rough edge. Attach the hub to the side with the rough edge so that it sits on the inside of the wheel. Do not tighten the screws down on the hubs until I instruct you to do so. When attaching the ratchet gear to the top wheel, you must align the threaded hole in the hub with the open hole in the top wheel on both sides. Also, leave the screws loose until all of them are in. Repeat these same steps for the other side. Next, with all the screws still loose, it's time to line the wheel up using the top wheel shaft. Place the shaft through the top wheel, then tighten the screws that hold the hubs, followed by the screws that hold the top wheel. Your shaft should move from left to right with ease. If it is tight, you can hit it loose with the tap of a hammer. The first step to putting your top wheel back onto the taper head is to put your head bushings in place. The next step is to make sure that the head bushings are aligned. Take the top wheel shaft and run it through the head bushings. If it is nice and smooth and runs freely, it is already aligned. If it is tight, you need to tweak the head bushings until it runs smooth. To tweak them, run the shaft through one bushing until it is close to the next one. If the shaft doesn't line up, then bend it the way it needs to go so that it does line up. Now, take the top wheel and place it between the head bushings. Then take the top wheel shaft and run it through the side plates and the wheel. Once you've done this, you need to line the hole in the shaft up with the left hole on the top wheel. Then, using a 5/64 Allen key, lock them in place. Now that they lock together, make sure that the top wheel rolls freely. If it is tight from side to side, you may need to bend the side plate out a bit with a screwdriver. Next, lock your creaser dog onto your creaser arm. You'll notice there's a half moon shape to lock it in place. Tighten the screw down once it's in place. Then hook your return spring back in place. Thank you for watching this video on the Columbia automatic taper. I hope you found it useful. For the completion of this repair tutorial, please watch the Columbia automatic taper repair video number 3. For more videos like this, please visit the Columbia Taping Tools Facebook page.